Thank you, and you were speaking in your mother tongue, and I did not hold that time against you.
Yes.
But your whole testimony, Mr. Payment, is helpful if it's all in English for me.
Okay.
Aaron Payment, chairperson of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians.
I'll only say one word in Ojibwe. Anin. Thank you for hearing from me today. As elected chairperson of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe.
We want to hear all of you.
Anin. Thank you for hearing from me today. As the elected chairperson of the Sault Ste. Marie tribe of Chippewa Indians, I'm speaking on behalf of my tribe. A little later, I will testify for the Tribal Interior Budget Committee as co-chair. I'm co-chair along with Darryl for the Midwest region, and also the National Congress of American Indians, for which I serve as the first vice president. For now, I will focus on federal recognition of tribal sovereign rights, federal treaty and trust obligations to the tribes, the need for mandatory funding, and advanced appropriations. Let me start by noting that every time I meet with representatives of the federal government, I explain the meaning of the tribal sovereignty, treaty rights, and the federal government's trust obligation to tribes. When I request funds for tribal programs and services, federal representatives, not all, often behave as if I'm begging for handouts, reparations, or some sort of public welfare for my people. They fail to recognize we prepaid in full for what we get. My tribe and 4 other 1836 tribes ceded 14 million acres to the federal government that allowed Michigan to become a state. The tribes across the country ceded 500 million acres that made America great. Unfortunately, the federal government is well aware of its treaty and trust obligations to tribes, yet often chooses to ignore these obligations. In December of 2018, the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights published a federal study entitled Broken Promises, Continuing Federal Funding Shortfall for Native Americans, which was made widely available throughout the federal government. This study reported the federal government is not meeting its treaty and trust obligations to tribes. Yet the study follows up on the Quiet Crisis federal funding and unmet needs in Indian country report from way back in 2003. These and numerous studies say the same thing, that the federal government has failed to meet its treaty and trust obligations. Some enduring needs of adequate appropriations include, across the country, 25.7% of American Indian and Alaska Native people in the United States live below the poverty level, compared to 12.4% for the general population. Unemployment rates in Indian country average 22%. Basic living characteristics for Native Americans on Indian lands contribute to the Native American health crisis. For example, 32% do not have telephone services, 15% live in overcrowded homes, 11% of Native homes lack kitchen facilities, 14% have no access to electricity, and 12% lack complete plumbing. This data shows why programs like the Home Improvement Program are so important. Last year, the President proposed to eliminate the Home Improvement Program. Thank you for saving the program. I recommend that Congress continue to fully fund the Home Improvement Program. Another key program for our tribal people is the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, or LIHEAP. This program helps families keep their homes adequately heated. We've had a record cold in the Midwest this year and snow. I believe that this program has kept tribal elders and some of our tribal children from freezing to death. I urge Congress to fully fund LIHEAP. Our Head Start program is essential to meeting the early education needs of tribal children. Our Head Start program has not had a base funding increase for 17 years. I strongly recommend base funding increases for both Head Start and Early Head Start, as well as funding increases for facilities maintenance. Our tribal court program, an integral component of our tribe's sovereignty, is significantly underfunded as well. In fact, the federal government provides 3.7% of the base funding needed to operate a tribal court capable of meeting our tribe's service population and jurisdictional needs. We recommend Congress to fully fund tribal courts' base funding levels to meet the budget model provided by the BIA. I would be remiss if I didn't reinforce our Chippewa-Ottawa Resource Authority $500,000 litigation support request as the 1836 treaty tribes approach our treaty consent decree negotiations. You are our trustee. You are a party to this decree. It is your duty to fund the litigation support for litigation for which the federal government is a party. We have tried to get the Department of Interior to request these funds, but the Trump administration simply refuses. I'm advised that the President proposes and Congress disposes, so I'm asking you to propose and dispose well, no, not dispose what you propose it, but to propose your own budget if the Interior and Trump administration will not, I'm asking you to. In conclusion, the lack of adequate funding limits our tribal governments can provide for their people and prevents tribes from lifting themselves from a state of dependence to self-determination, self-governance, self-sufficiency, and empowerment. To advance this goal, I urge and advance appropriations for federal programs and services impacting tribes. According to a September 2018 GAO report, it's GAO 18652. It identifies the challenges of IHS health delivery for American Indian Alaska Natives and how advanced appropriations can fix this. Tribes are already faced with critically underfunded health general welfare programs. And finally, in addition to my request that you institute advanced appropriations on federal funding services impacting tribes, I request you appropriate funds for those programs and services specifically recommended by intertribal organizations like the National Congress of American Indians, National Indian Health Board, and National Indian Housing Council, and NIEA. And then I did bring, and I'm not going to go over it, but I did bring copies of advanced appropriation detailed information for you.
Okay,
and thank you.
We'll enter that for the record. And while we're without any objections, and Chairman, would you like your remarks, which were not part of the prepared remarks, would you like those to be officially entered into the record if you can give me the written? Any objections? So moved.